Hey guys, welcome to Everyday Spartan, and today I'm going to show you how to get through the Spartan Race monkey bar obstacle. So monkey bars are a great obstacle to start looking at if you're getting ready for a Spartan race for a multitude of reasons. The number one thing is they're a really good intermediate obstacle between some of the really easy ones that you're kind of expected to be able to do just by showing up, and the hard obstacles that you really have to prepare for. It's a good in between because there's a lot of familiarity people have with monkey bars, but there's still a lot of strength and kind of technique that's involved in that. So that's why I wanted to break down for you guys today. So what I wanted to talk about, you guys, is first the strength and conditioning you guys can do to get ready for monkey bars. And then I wanted to talk about some of the technique that I particularly use, particularly 3 different techniques that you can use for your monkey bars when you go to a Spartan race. So for strength and conditioning, it's pretty straightforward. As you can tell from a lot of the videos, a lot of it is just you hanging from a bar and then reaching and grabbing other single bars. So a lot of this is working your back muscles, particularly these upper back muscles in your lats, and then your biceps. Biceps are where they're going to be helping pull your arms close and keep your head close to that bar. And then finally, your grip strength. Your grip is going to be really tried as you do this obstacle, so you really need to make sure that you have solid grip and you're able to hold on to the bar tight, or else you're just going to fall off, and then it doesn't matter how strong you are. Looking at some of the stuff you can do, the number one thing that I think is very accessible for everyone are pull-ups. Pull-ups are very straightforward. Most people know how to do them, and you have access to them in most places. Pretty much any gym you have that has a membership, they will have a pull-up bar. A lot of parks and stuff that are outside have a pull-up bar. You can even buy pull-up bars for doorways in your house that you can just hang up and be able to do pull-ups for about $20, $25. So really, this is the best, most easily accessible method into training for this obstacle. The benefits are immediately obvious. First of all, you're hanging on to a bar, so at first you should already see the parallels. You're working that grip strength, you're working your biceps as you pull yourself up higher, and you're working particularly those lats if you go for a wider grip, or some of the narrower in muscles on your back if you're doing for a narrower short grip. So you're hitting all of those muscle groups, and the extra benefit of this is you're learning how to move your body through space. You're learning particularly how to move your own body weight and move it as an object. That's something not a lot of us have a lot of familiarity with. We're not all used to just, without using our legs at all, being able to move ourselves fluidly. It is a learned skill, and pull-up bars are a great place to start learning how to move your body and hold on to the bar. I will say that if you cannot do a pull-up, there are plenty of options. You can start with just doing dead hangs from a bar, which is where you just hang from the bar and see how long you can hold on. And you can also try getting things to assist your pull-up. So these include rubber bands, which is my number one thing. If you cannot do a pull-up, that's the number one thing I recommend. Get some pull-up assistance bands. So pretty much just a band that wraps around the bar. You stick your feet in them and they will help you do a pull-up. You can also do weighted pull-ups. There are machines at the gym where you can stack on a little bit of weight as counterbalance. So let's say you load on 40 pounds and it'll just pull you up with 40 pounds of force. So it feels like you weigh 40 pounds less when you're doing pull-ups, and you can slowly wean yourself off of any weight and be able to do pull-ups. But you should shoot for being able to do several pull-ups consecutively at one time when you're getting ready for these Spartan races. I would say try shooting for 5 to 8 at least if you want to make sure you're strong enough to be able to do monkey bars. But if you want to go above and beyond and you want to look for the number one way to train, not only for monkey bars, but pretty much all these upper body obstacles, you should get into rock climbing. Again, the benefits should seem obvious. You're really working your grip a lot more than in the other ones, which is one of the hardest muscle groups to really hit strongly. You're getting really strong back and bi workouts, but also you're working on moving your body weight through space, which again is a skill that you cannot undervalue when you're looking at doing some of these obstacle races. And unlike the pull-up bars where you're just moving yourself up and down, these actually are moving you side to side like you will be moving in monkey bars. So again, a phenomenal option for training, not only for monkey bars, but for any obstacle in Spartan race. Getting into bouldering at any kind of rock climbing gym. It is a little less accessible. It does cost some stuff to get a membership, but most major cities should have them. Pretty much if I'm on the Spartan subreddit, anytime anyone asks how they prepare for any of the upper body obstacles, I always say, do climbing, and if you can't do climbing, then look at pull-ups. That will completely encompass your strength and conditioning if you're trying to get ready for this obstacle. Moving on from strength and conditioning, we can finally talk about the obstacle itself. So there's 3 main techniques, as I said before, that I want to talk about. I'm going to start with the techniques that I think are best for beginners, and then I'll kind of move on to the other techniques that if you don't like that first technique that I talk about. The first one, and it may seem a little counterintuitive, is to hit the bars sideways. Okay, there's a lot of benefits to this, but particularly one of the best benefits is when you go in sideways, a lot of the time you'll have one hand over the bar and one hand under the bar. So if I'm going through sideways towards you, I would have one hand, usually my non-dominant hand, back grip it, and then my other dominant hand forward, and I will pull forward with my dominant hand and pull the bar forward. You can see this technique very clearly in a lot of my race footage. I use this all the time. The big benefit of this is Spartan Race has some really wide bars, so it may not be able to tell necessarily on the footage, but it's really hard to get your hands all the way around the metal bars they use for monkey bars. So instead of grabbing it like a closed bar like this where you have a really strong grip, you're actually kind of grabbing it like this, where you're trying to just hook your hands around and hope that this hook kind of holds on. So as you can imagine, if both your hands are forward and you're leaning back, it's really easy for your hands to fall off. But if they're both side to side, even if you lean one way, while one hand may be more likely to fall off, the other one's actually getting stronger because you're pulling in the direction that it's cupping in. So you're really stable on the bars. This is particularly good if you are having trouble doing monkey bars in wet, rainy conditions. A lot of people complain that, they're really great at a lot of these obstacles, but once it gets wet, they just slip right off. You really got to make sure you have this different directional motion when you're hitting monkey bars, and you're going through it nice and stably. And the sideways technique really helps you with that. I know people who can't do pull-ups at all who are able to make it through monkey bars that we practice with at home just by doing it with this sideways method, because it's so secure and so strong. Now we're going to want to talk about some of the technique so you can really see how this technique is very preferable. As you can see from the footage on screen, there's several phases to going through this obstacle. The first thing is you have both your hands on a single bar. And then what you'll want to do is reach for a bar with your dominant hand preferably. And so once you have those two, now that you have two separate bars, you're able to generate momentum. So you can pull back with your hand that's more backwards, and that will make you swing backwards. And then when you let go of that hand, you will swing forward. And that swing is what we're gonna use to carry us through the motion. As you start your swing forward, you will let go of your non-dominant hand and try matching it onto the same bar that your dominant hand is grabbing. So as you can see by this, it makes it a really nice, secure grip, because whenever you're swinging like this, which anytime you move on any of these monkey bars, you're gonna be swinging a little bit just because that's how your body moves through space. So when you're swinging, the part that's easiest to hold on to is at the top of your swing, and the bottom of your swing is the hardest part to hold on to. It's where you have the most force because your body's traveling the fastest. The benefit to this technique is both your hands are on the same bar securely in different directions at this very strong, fast part of the swing. So you're in the most secure position at the least secure part of this swing. So if you're doing any other technique, this bottom of the swing is always going to be worse for you. Now that you've matched, once you're at the top of your swing, you can now grab with your dominant hand forward and grab the next bar, and notice that you're back in the starting position. And you basically want to repeat this pattern of matching your hands at the bottom of the swing, at the top of the swing, where your grip is least taxed, grabbing and moving yourself forward through the obstacle. Now, I want you to notice something very particular, which is the way I'm swinging, which is a lot of the time I grab the next bar, and then you don't see me immediately grab the next bar. I actually swing myself back. So my legs are swinging and they are forward when I grab the next bar, but I want to start the motion with my legs backwards. So I will use my arms to pull my legs backwards so I can get back and cocked and ready for this next swing. So once they pull back, then I go forward. So this is what a lot of people have a problem with, which is they let their momentum die, because if you just go immediately at the top of your swing, instead of pulling yourself backwards and keeping that swinging motion going, you will just stall out and lose all of your momentum completely. And that's the number one reason people fall off monkey bars. It's because they completely lose their momentum halfway through the obstacle. They're not able to reach another bar, so they're literally just hanging from the bars, wearing their grip strength out, wearing out their biceps and their back, not able really to grab anything else until they eventually fall, which is not a fun situation to be in. So keeping your momentum going is a very crucial part of getting through monkey bars and keeping it going in your favor. So making sure that you're waiting when your momentum wouldn't be carried through, and then following through in this nice steady pattern. And I think looking at the footage, it should be very obvious why this is preferable. It may seem like I'm throwing a lot of information at you, and I am, but it's actually a very intuitive technique, and you will pick it up very easily by practicing. When you get out there and you actually get onto the course trying it, you'll find that it's very intuitive. Just really focus on making sure your swinging is continuous and you're only moving forward as your legs are swinging forward, and you're holding on to the 2 bars as your legs are swinging back. If I'm moving, then it's fine to grab different bars, but if I'm not moving, if I'm just standing in place, I wanna have 2 different bars in my hand so I can create that momentum and that swing in my body, okay? So pretty much every time I've shown this to new people, they've preferred this method the best. It is the most secure. It's, as I said, very intuitive and easy to learn, and it really relies on that swinging. And the best part is, because you're leading with one hand constantly, your dominant hand can do a lot of the work, which makes people feel a lot more comfortable with it. My preferred method, I always default to this method unless I'm just trying out something else, or there's a particular situation that calls for a different method. That's the method that I will use at pretty much any race. All right, so if you do not like that, there are 2 other alternative methods that I have. So we're gonna talk with the next most secure method, which is matching. Matching is pretty much where you have both hands on a single bar, you reach forward with your dominant hand, and then you match it again on the same bar, and then you reach forward with your dominant hand, and you just keep going like that. So again, the benefit of this is your dominant hand's going forward. It's very similar in hand motion to the previous method, but it's actually very different in practice when you take a look at what's kind of involved in going on in this technique. So as you'll notice from the footage of me doing this, my legs are kept forward. And that's because, as I said before, when you're holding this bar, both your hands are forward. So if I fall back, both my hands are in a bad direction and I will slip backwards. So you want to keep your momentum going forward constantly. You don't want to have a backswing, which is why this is very different from your sideways technique that you would be doing. So you just want to constantly be having motion and constantly going forward, and you're kind of focusing on leaning down. It's almost like you're leaning, going downhill, just leaning into the motion and letting your body kind of naturally follow and fall into the next bar. The good benefit about this method is it's fast. It's probably the fastest method I have here, just from what I've tried, because there's no swinging. Because you're not swinging, you don't have to wait for that forward swing to go backwards so you can get ready to go again. You can just immediately keep going. It is a little more taxing, in my opinion, on your body. It does require a little bit more energy faster. And again, it's a little less secure. So this method is great. I've used it plenty of times, but particularly if the bars are wet, it can be a little dangerous because of that whole back slipping thing. I like having my hands going both directions so that there's no risk of me falling off, but this is a fine method. All right, so that one didn't have a lot of technique. And then the last one I want to talk about is the Tarzan swing. So you may already have a picture in your head of what this looks like, and it's probably very similar. Tarzan swing, you have 2 bars, but instead of your back hand going up and matching on the bar that your front hand is on, you actually skip and reach forward on the next bar. So that you have these long swings where your arm is just straight and you're doing these big stretches forwards. So the big benefit about this is because you're not bending your arms at all, you're actually not engaging your biceps at all, which means that you're not using any energy in your arms. It's actually great if you are really tired and you don't want to use a lot of energy, but it is the least secure part, because remember what I said, at the bottom of that swing is where you're going the fastest and you're getting pulled off the bar the strongest. And in the sideways method, both your hands are on the bar while you're swinging. In this Tarzan method, you only have one hand on the bar, which means that one hand really needs to be secure. So if you're not very confident in your grip, it's an unfortunate method to go. From what I can tell, people who are lighter tend to like this method a little better, just because they don't have as much force pulling them off the bar, and they will have good grip strength already. So they really like this. Particularly strong rock climbers, I've found, are really fond of this method because they can just go through. But heavier people, when they start at this obstacle, it's very easy for you to slip off just because you over grip it, or maybe the bar is wet, but you only have that one hand for support and your full body weight is on it, rather than you have 2 hands and each one's only supporting half your body weight. So again, just to reiterate, it's really great for energy compensation. It's the easiest method to do energy-wise, but it's the most risky when you're looking at a grip strength. So personally, this does not fit my body type really well, but if you're someone who this fits your body type really well, then go for it. I will also make a note that because you're grabbing so long, it's actually great if you do not have a long range of motion and you can't reach the next bar. So if you're someone who really can't reach the next bar, then this is a really great technique to have. But it's very similar to the sideways technique. You have 2 different bars, you pull back with your back hand to generate that swing, and then you swing forward and grab the next one. And instead of immediately going for the next bar again, you will stop yourself, swing back, and then once you start your forward swing, you will continue on through your motion and go through. I hope that was informative. I hope I had a lot of race footage and stuff ready for you guys. If you enjoyed it, please let me know. Hopefully I'm going to be doing a lot of different obstacles. A lot of this information can already be applied to pretty much all the other upper body obstacles. If there's other obstacles that you want to see, please feel free to leave it in the comments below, and definitely subscribe if you want to see more. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in another video.